Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video called Americans, Stop Doing This When You Come to Europe. Okay, yeah, sure, tell me, I don't want to offend anyone. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
Americans, I think there are 3 things that you could stop doing if you want to have a better trip to Europe.
Okay.
First, stop consider Europe as a country. Europe is
Yes.
a continent that has more than 40 countries, not states, countries.
That's-
More than 90
Anyone who believes that states are the same as countries, like, you should be ashamed of yourself.
languages have their home in Europe and countless dialects. For example, I come from a teeny tiny country in Italy where 4 official languages are spoken and 13 official dialects.
Where's she
And
from, Samarino?
sometimes, if I just move from my hometown to another one, which is just a few kilometers away, I cannot understand their dialect. Now, I do understand that sometimes it's easier to
It just occurred to me that in the US sometimes that's the case, especially in the South when there's like a lot of weird accents over there. So it's like if I move some county, like 2 counties away, it's like, oh, I do not understand what they're saying.
talk about Europe in general when you compare it to the United States, but
It's not the
please
same.
don't consider us a country, because in many cases it's already difficult for us to consider one of our official countries as only one country. 2. Stop going to only the cities and ignore completely what's between them. When I first visited
Like the
the
smaller
United
towns?
States, I actually understood why you have this tendency. Let's be honest, in the United States, there is not as much cultural richness out of the cities as there is in the big cities.
Yes.
So if you have to visit the United States, you'd rather take the plane and jump from one metropolis to the other.
Of course.
But if you have the same approach with Europe, you're missing out. Cities in
course.
Europe are the ones where the official history took place, but nowadays they are becoming more and more globalized, so they are slowly losing their uniqueness. Indeed, you are missing the best parts. Ever wonder why you can find a McDonald's in Prague, but not in Kutna Hora, which is also a
can't?
UNESCO site? Sure, if masses of Americans now started to go to the smaller towns, in a few years,
Oh.
McDonald's will be there too.
Okay.
But you who click on this video, you're not one of those American tourists who eat American fast food when they come to Europe, aren't you? Anyway, this channel is too small for this video to go viral. Third, eating non-local food. It might be because I'm Italian and we are obsessed about food, but this is the most important one for me. I go
Okay.
to Spain and I see American tourists sitting at Chinese restaurants.
No.
I go to Amsterdam and McDonald's is full of tourists.
No.
I go to Venice and I see every American looking for pizza.
No.
There's no pizza in Venice. It's not a typical food there. They open pizzerias just to please foreigner tourists.
No, absolutely not.
Nowadays you can find
That's what I'm going for. That's embarrassing. All of those stuff, like, that's embarrassing.
Thai food and sushi and American fast food more or less everywhere, also in Europe. But if you have the luck to travel to some European country,
To go
literally
local.
half of the experience is to eat local food. It's basically
Correct.
the main component of the culture of a place. Because not everyone will go to the museum, not everyone will do a certain activity, but everyone
It's true.
will eat some traditional food
It's actually true,
in
yeah.
the place you visit. So if you come to Hungary and you have some pad thai instead of goulash for dinner, what kind of trip is that? If you go to Portugal and you have a burger instead of some bacalhau, again, I know that you don't have so many traditional regional dishes, but we do, and it's a big part of our culture. Nowadays, we have restaurants from all parts of the world too, but they are meant for locals who a couple of times a year want to try something different.
And of course, if you're a local, like, of course, you're gonna have access to all of these, like, meals every single day of your life. But if you're visiting, like, you're an American visiting, you can have sushi, like, every single day in your own city, like, but you're not gonna have all this, like, regional dishes.
Enough for tourists who come here and want
Exactly.
to experience the real culture of the place. I hope these tips will help you have a better travel experience in Europe and a better understanding of the culture of the old continent. If any of these informations was helpful or inspiring, please share this video on your social media account and subscribe to this channel.
Enchanté.
Okay, I think a lot of the actual, like, behaviors that she was talking about, I think those, like, I mean, I'm sorry, but they do deserve to be like a little, like they deserve shame. I'm just gonna I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think like it's I always am a believer of like having grace for like a lot of people, but when those type of behaviors, I think like no, I don't think you deserve it though. I think like again they consider like a lot of, and it happens like constantly. I think a lot of Americans really do believe like, oh, Europe, like it's a whole thing, like it's just like a monolith, like there's just like one single country. And I think I've seen a lot of people actually compare, which I think is quite offensive, is that they think, oh, but because it's so large, like Europeans wouldn't understand, like the US is huge and we have like so many states. And so they do the comparison of like, oh, but it's similar to how the countries in Europe are like states in the US, because it's like, yeah, it's sort of like they do point at us being similar. I don't know if I agree. I do not agree. Not just in the sense of like the sheer craziness that it is to compare state in one single country to actual like to different countries in a different continent. Like, no, that's not even fair. It's not a good point of comparison either, because states are between the same country. They speak the same language. Like, those are the same. Like, what do you do? Like, it's crazy. Like, if I'm like, I don't know, organizing like apples and oranges, or like I have a bunch of red cubes and yellow cubes, I'm not mixing them. Like, it would be kind of like that. It's like you're not mixing apples and oranges. Like, it's kind of it's crazy, because it's like, again, a country like has its own, like, and the states between a country are the same. Like, you have the same nationality, you share the same language, you share the same cultural backgrounds, and you have and obviously the same experiences. Yes, I know it varies because each state has its own thing, and of course that's normal. That Europe, if that's your point of comparison, in Europe, countries in Europe also have states. Like, those countries also have states, they have regions, and they have different areas. So if you are comparing them like, oh, it's like a state, it's like, no, because those said countries, they also have states between them. So comparing one, I don't know, like a place in, I don't know, like whatever it is, I don't know, like Barcelona. Compare Barcelona like with Ohio, and it's like, no, they're not with, and I don't know, like Wyoming, like, no, it's not a thing. Each country like has its own cultural thing, and it's so incredibly offensive. And I think, like, even again, it's offensive. Like, I'm not being offended, and I'm offended on their behalf, because it's like, no, it would be so strange to even compare them, because again, it's like, it's the same country, you guys all have the same nationality. How are you comparing that with, like, no, states? Like, they have a bunch of countries, it's like states. It's like, no, absolutely not, it's crazy. And I think, like, again, in the US, like, you wouldn't compare, I don't know, the culture of like Georgia with the culture, like what they eat, how they behave, how things are, like the little cultural sort of like nuances. You wouldn't compare like the cultural thing that makes a Georgian makes a Georgian person from Georgia like proud of their cultural whatever. Although I think like it's kind of crazy. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm very American. I'm like, oh, I'm proud of being an American, not specifically like from Georgia. I'm just putting an example, but whatever. Like, their own cultural behaviors from, let's say, Georgia, you wouldn't compare them with the same culture as someone from the Pacific Northwest of, like, I don't know, Seattle. Like, no. I mean, and I know Seattle, it's a city, not a state, but I think like you would see the difference, right? You would think, oh yeah, it's very different. And even just how people behave in the South and in the like, people in the South have their own distinct, like, original, I think like their own little like particularities, and it's very different from, I don't know, places like Rhode Island, places like LA. So it is like you understand, right? Like, it's crazy, and it's between the same country. Now compare, like, how silly you kind of look comparing someone, I don't know, from like Portugal to someone from Poland. Like, no, it's completely different, right? So you look dumb just comparing them. I think it's like one of those things that I'm like, no, you like, do not say this out loud. It's kind of crazy. The missing out, I think, on the actual like food and sort of like, I think, yes, because again, food, and every culture will tell you this, like, oh, food is so important in my culture. It's like, yeah, for each culture, like, they are gonna tell you this. Maybe actually, side note, I think the Americans probably would not tell you this, because it's like, no, like, tell me what's a regional sort of like food. Yeah, everyone has their own, again, the South has their own like particular sort of like dishes. Tell me what's the, I don't know, like, oh, the typical food of like, I don't know, New York, or Arizona, like probably they do have them, I think, but there's not really a thing of like, oh, what's created here. Like you can eat a lot of like, oh, there's like great places to eat. I know the spaghetti, burgers, whatever. That it's not really the same of like, oh, it's a regional dish that's been around for 400 years, 500 years, and we sort of created this. It's like the United States doesn't really have it. So I think it can be a little strange for Americans to actually wake up and say, like, oh, there are other places. Like food is really important in the sense of like it tells a history. It's deeper than that, and it's really like deep between the culture. Just because again, if you have a dish that's been around for like hundreds of years, like of course it's part of you, it's part of your culture. The US doesn't really have that. So I think maybe that's why they take it like so lightly, and it's like, oh well, whatever, because it's like that's the joke, like, oh, Americans, like imagine a regional or a typical food. Like what's typical American food? Like burgers, fries. Fries don't even fries because fries are not even American. They're I think they're Belgium. Yeah, they were created in Belgium. But to burgers and fries, milkshakes, and like those are the kind of things that are probably like you would consider them to be Americans, but it's really not the same as like again dishes that have been around for like so long. I don't know, like paella, octopus, grilled octopus. I don't know, pierogies. Like I don't know. There's like so many things. So it is kind of like maybe that's where the disconnect comes from, that a lot of Americans do not really understand like how important like food actually is to actually understand a culture and a country. That I do even not just like knowing that, or you maybe have it like in the back of your head, but you're not actually actively thinking about this. Just the idea, because maybe that's just me, but I think a lot of people actually feel this way as well. If you're like visiting a country and you're not all, oh, I want to know like how the culture is. I'm just traveling for the sake of traveling. I don't care about culture. I don't care about anything else, which, that's your prerogative. Okay. But just because of the sake of being in a new place, in a new region, in a new country, in a new city, I'm always of the mind of like, I want to try new things. Like I just like trying new things. Maybe again, not just even for like, oh, not even the cultural baggage of like, oh, I want to understand more about this. What do these people eat? No, just for the sake of like, I'm in a new place and I want to have something new that I've never tried before. So I think a lot of people luckily are like that, just because of like, I've never tried this before, so of course I want to try it. And that's where I think like, again, but other people are like, no, I'd rather have a burger or sushi or pizza or Chinese. He's like, again, why would you have this? It's like, you can have Chinese every single day at home. You can have sushi every single day at home. But if you're in a new country, like, oh my God, please tell me the local cuisine. There's like so many things I haven't tasted like here. And even stuff that you actually had before, like, I don't know, pizza, for instance. Like, yeah, well, everyone has had pizza, but you hadn't had pizza in Italy, right? Like, oh, I'm in Italy, of course I want to have like actual Neapolitan pizza, because it's like where they created this, right? So I want to try like the real thing. So it is kind of strange, so weird to me every time I see a tourist like just eating at McDonald's, because it's like, why are you eating at a McDonald's? Like there's like so many other options that you can try, and there are new options, there are new things that you haven't tried. Why are you eating there? It's kind of crazy, and I'm kind of low-key shaming them a little bit because of it, because it's just wild to me. Like, your travel, I don't know, 500 miles just to go eat at McDonald's that you can have like every single day of your life. That's just wild. I will never understand it. So I think and of course that really maybe goes a lot of, that's the food thing is actually like a macro thing. But it goes a little with the whole, do not just stay in cities, like do not just go to the cities. Like a lot of towns are actually where like the big things are, not the big things like, oh, you're gonna find so many things, but no, the cultural things are like the super old places, like their World Heritage sites, the whole like how you can see like how people live like back in those days, and those are gonna be like the ones that are gonna be probably like the least like the place that you're from, I think, like especially compared to the US. And I do think it's funny that she mentioned like I can see why, because in the US you wouldn't go like a European tourist, like it's not gonna go to, I don't know, Mahaya, like there's nothing there, so why would I go there? Yeah, exactly. But you want to go to, again, you want to go to Santa Monica, you want to go to LA, like you want to go to like where the big places are, you want to go to Orlando, like you want to go to like where the big cities are. I'm saying for Europeans, because the US does not really have like all those like little counties, all those little towns they don't really, there's like not a lot of things there. Like some of them do, and I think they do have their charm. But for a first visit or for just a visit, I think like there's like few people that would prefer to go to the middle of nowhere to like experience how life is in the middle of Ohio and not go to, I don't know, to Manhattan. So I think maybe that's why the U.S. like Americans actually think, oh, you know, why would I go to like a small city in the middle of nowhere in Europe? It's like, no, it's because it's better. You're thinking of like it's completely different. And it's not just like, oh, it's in the middle of nowhere. Yes, they are sort of in the middle of nowhere, as middle of nowhere as can be, but still the vibe in those cities and in those towns is completely different. Like I promised you, it's completely different from what you're thinking in the US. Like they have completely different vibes, the history is different, the people are different, and everything in general it's gonna be different, and I venture to say it's actually like better. Just like I don't think like it's a subjective thing to say, even though again I like little towns in the US have their little charm. You're not gonna compare them to the places in Europe that all those little villages, like they have like so much history and so many things that it's just like visually like they're so incredibly appealing. They're just better in general, and they're older. So I'm always just go to the little villages, eat the food, try new things. But you know, I think that's my advice. So just as her. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.